What's up everybody? Now this isn't going to be a typical manga reading that I would normally do on this channel, because I don't think anybody really cares about the in-depth telling of Dragon Ball SD. Admittedly, I completely avoided the series for years because I thought it was just going to be a weird, watered down, almost Nick Jr. retelling of the story. Turns out that isn't the case at all. This is just going to be a casual glance over the first bit of the series. According to the almighty Kanzenshu, SD has gone all the way up to 58 chapters as of June 2019 and is still in production. But for now, we're just going to cover the first 7. So apparently Toriyama supervised this project that was ultimately headed by Nahoushi, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. All I know them for is they're the creator of episode of Bardock, where they made the whole Death Ball Bardock time travel idea. That aside, Chapter 1 starts with Goku on Mount Paozu, who's packing up to train with Master Roshi, per the deceased Grandpa Gohan's instructions. He finds the island with no issues, and upon landing, he initially mistakes Turtle for being Roshi, or quote, the Turtle Master. This could be a toss to where Goku mistakes Bubbles for King Kai as well. As Roshi and Krillin approach from behind, Goku explains Gohan's wanting him to train here and all of that. With no resistance, Roshi agrees and introduces him to Krillin, who's already his disciple, and a little grouchy to Goku like in the original story. Hopping to it, Roshi tells the both of them to follow him. Instead of throwing a marked stone from the mountain for them to retrieve, he throws the two boys off the cliff instead. Like how Piccolo would do to Gohan, he says the first part of their training is to merely survive in the wild for an entire month on their own. That's when a volcano decides it's time for some eruption stuff, so Roshi blows it up using a Kamehameha because it'll interfere with his plan. This of course also gives the kids an idea of what they too can achieve with practice. As Krillin sits by a fire, Goku comes back with a centipede for dinner, which isn't much to Krillin's liking, needless to say, so Goku throws him a fish instead. Not long later, Krillin finds himself quickly adjusting to this more rugged lifestyle when a pterodactyl mistakes his bald head for an egg and lunges after him. As the monster takes off with his new friend, Goku decides he has no choice but to attempt the attack he saw Roshi use earlier. Pulling it off flawlessly, he takes out the giant bird as Krillin falls to the ground, getting his head stuck in the sand. But more or less, he's just happy to be alive. Little known to them, the Turtle Hermit has been watching them this entire time. The first chapter ends with Goku getting ready to roast up the pterodactyl for lunch. With that, I'm sure you pretty much already get the idea. It's the same general beats as the original series, but slightly different with a similar but altered art style. And to be honest, I really enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to. Not that it's a masterpiece or something Dragon Ball absolutely needed, but it's a light-hearted retelling, slightly reimagined take on things we already know. In a way, it's kind of refreshing. But at the start of Chapter 2, we somewhat get the hint that they didn't exactly know where they wanted to go with the series, as we find ourselves at the beginning of the battle with Frieza. In this version, Goku arrives while the Space Lord is still in his first form. And also in this version, it looks like Vegeta really is Goku's best buddy. Goku uses his famous Amsung Goku line to start the fight instead of when he transforms into a Super Saiyan. Finding him to be a match, Frieza almost instantly changes into his final form. For a page, he takes the advantage. Then Goku breaks out the Kaioken, and for a page, he takes the advantage. As Frieza stands astonished, Goku managed to leave a mark on him. Goku's best buddy announces, "Aha, Frieza! Kakarot is a legendary Super Saiyan!" which is met with a case of the explosions. After Vegeta is seemingly sent to another dimension, Goku begins to tremble, transforming into an actual Super Saiyan, proceeding to undertake a prompt whooping. Frieza is manhandled for the next few pages before vowing to destroy the planet as he charges his death ball. But this attempt would be thwarted when Goku pulls out the trusty old Kamehameha. You could almost hear Krillin's "woohoo" in the background. And Vegeta's just fine after all, because reasons. So maybe after seeing the first 2 chapters, you can understand why I thought this was for little kids. Not only does Vegeta have no sense of rivalry with Goku, he's ecstatic to see him when he arrives at the fight. Ugh, he needs my hugs! Krillin is a non-factor in the entire fight and a non-factor in the Super Saiyan process. Namek doesn't even get exploded. So at this point I looked up to see if this was actually for kids, and some sources said yes, other sources said no. And I don't read Japanese, so I guess we're just gonna have to take it for what it is. It's a Dragon Ball spin-off that's published in Saikyo Jump, a publication that specializes in shonen. So in terms of being kid-friendly, I would put it in the same realm as the original Dragon Ball. Chapter 3 starts with Cell. Maybe they anticipated this series being canceled at any moment, so they just wanted to hit Dragon Ball's biggest moments maybe? But after seeing clothes lying in the street, we're told Cell sucks up people to get stronger. So it goes on to show him sucking up 17 and 18 to change into his perfect form. After he does this, he announces in celebration of him achieving perfection, he'd like to host a tournament. Informing Goku back at Kami's lookout, he and Gohan train in the Room of Spirit and Time, where Gohan unceremoniously goes Super Saiyan. There's literally no announcement. They treat it like it's no big thing. Soon enough, the Cell games begin and the chibi art style, which I really like for this kind of storytelling, all too much resembles the reenactment of the Cell games shown at the World Tournament years later. Cutting right to the chase, Goku tells Gohan to go first, as he knows how strong he is after training with him for so long. It's also worth pointing out Mr. Satan is nowhere to be found. Gohan powers up, surprising everyone with his strength, and then, again, unceremoniously goes Super Saiyan 2. Cell's confidence is unwavered as he says, "You don't honestly think you can beat me, do you?" As Goku shouts back, "He can!" Cell struggles as they begin to fight, and I actually end up guessing this before even turning the page, but the first and single punch causes Cell to puke up both the androids. But still, he only goes back to his second form. Gohan tells Cell to just give up, but that's when he transforms into the bloater bomb. Everybody stands by as Cell laughs maniacally. Gohan wonders what he can do as his father steps in, saying they need to destroy him completely before he explodes. Rehashing the father-son Kamehameha, they blow Cell into oblivion. Goku congratulates his son as the chapter ends. Now, I can't knock Nahuushi for the condensed writing. It's literally what they're hired to do, but I still can't help but wonder who this is really for, despite the sources. Some of it really seems like it's trying to appeal to young kids, but with all the inside jokes, they would just be profoundly confused. But we're just gonna keep this train a-going as we land in the Buu arc for Chapter 4. Babidi summons Buu without having to steal Gohan's power, though all of his minions are still present. Of course, the sight of a fat Majin Buu comes to a shock to the evil wizard, who upon trying to tell Buu he's his master, is turned into a cookie and eaten, along with his entire entourage. Having a full belly, he decides now is a great time to play and rampage the earth. Goku and Vegeta step in to stop him when the world champ finally appears, camera crew and all. At this point, the Z-Fighters don't even know who this man is. Just like with Cell normally, Satan grabs a few tiles from his bag and breaks them in front of Buu in an attempt to intimidate him. Smashing him, Buu tells Satan he thinks he's really cool and he wants to do that too. Looking down at the dirt, Buu chops a giant crack in the earth's surface. Believing it must be a trick, Satan tries to get in a sneak attack, but Buu doesn't even notice it. Trying something else, Satan asks Buu why he goes around destroying stuff. Buu says because Babidi told him that's just how people play. So Satan explains the difference between good and evil, causing Buu to expel Kid Buu. Luckily, we have Piccolo to randomly chime in with some exposition, saying the good and evil split into two beings, just like what happened with him. So Kid Buu starts to beat up on Fat Buu, and without even fighting either of them, Goku decides he has no choice but to use the Spirit Bomb. Piccolo and the boys show up to the battleground while Vegeta tells them it's no use. Unless the people of Earth really push themselves, it'll never be enough power to win. Mr. Satan is seen sneaking off with a small shrub for some reason, joining Goten and Trunks. Hearing Vegeta's words, Satan tells them just leave it to him as he uses his camera crew to broadcast a message to the world. Everybody donates to the Spirit Bomb as it substantially grows in power. Having more than enough energy, Buu is defeated as Satan takes the credit. So now we're at Chapter 5, and for whatever reason, they decide to essentially say, hey, you know all that stuff you just saw, especially in Chapter 1? Well, it didn't happen now. Apparently, SD was popular enough at this point, they saw the longevity in the series, so they decided to give it kind of a weird reboot. So just try to consider the previous 4 chapters of this story one big pilot episode for the series. So now we restart the entire story with Bulma hitting Goku with her car. This time, it's while he was on his way to get food rather than returning with it. Bulma doesn't shoot Goku, but Goku still destroys her car and claims her to be a monster. She explains that she's a girl and Goku remembers that Gohan told him to be nice to girls. The typical Dragon Ball purgatory is foregone as Bulma enlightens Goku to the Dragon Balls themselves. Bulma says her dream is to wish for the perfect prince. In a little throwaway, Vegeta is seen sneezing in space, which I actually really liked. Nothing different really happens and Goku joins Bulma on the journey. Making their way a few miles down the road, no pterodactyl tries to eat Bulma. Pulling out the radar, they find the nearest ball is next to the sea. Then the Pilaf gang makes an early appearance, for the manga version at least, as Pilaf wants his usual world domination thing. Skipping the bear thief, they make their way to the beach where they find Turtle. Helpless on his back, Goku flips him over. Wanting to thank the pair properly, he goes to get his master. Coming back a short while later, he returns with Master Roshi who gifts them with the flying Nimbus. Of course, neither Roshi or Bulma can ride it, Goku has no problem. As Turtle previously said the Nimbus rejected Roshi because he's a pervert, Goku asked Bulma if she was rejected because of her impure thoughts, causing her to claim that when Goku grows up, he too will just be another filthy adult like the rest of them. Pulling up a little side panel of Goku telling Old Kai that if he helps them, he'll give him hot pictures of a girl he knows. This is of course from the original Buu arc. Getting them in their sights, Pilaf and his cronies emerge from the water, demanding they hand over their Dragon Balls. Springing into action, Goku whacks off the robot's right arm, but that's when it charges an energy attack with its left. Roshi tells Goku to step aside before going into his buff form and firing a Kamehameha at the thieves, blowing them away, but not before making sure the readers know they're okay. Goku eagerly runs up to Roshi asking him to teach him the thing he just did, but Roshi claims it'll take at least 50 years of training to master. Then sure enough,
look, I can see their parachutes. They're okay.
peel off Mai and Shu gracefully float in the air as Mai pulls out a rocket launcher, as Goku tries to imitate the Kamehameha, actually pulling it off and losing control, causing it to fire in the air, thus accidentally defeating the peel-off gang. With this, Roshi gifts them the Dragon Ball, without Bulma having to essentially prostrate herself, and the villains can only stew in the ocean. Chapter 6 starts in the town Oolong terrorized. Upon breaking and entering, Goku is met with an axe to the head which shatters upon impact, when the villagers find out it's not actually Oolong. Goku still does the pat thing, which Bulma scolds him for, asking, "What if good little kids went around imitating you?" Bulma then explains the Dragon Ball situation, and the old lady says that she'll just give it to him if they can get rid of the monster Oolong. That's when the peel-off gang makes another unexpected appearance. After he's briefed on the goings-on, he orders Shu and Mai to stand by and snatch up the Dragon Ball from the old woman when nobody's looking. But the two goons refuse, saying it would make a bad impression on all the good little kids reading Saikyo Jump to get violent with an old lady. Peel-off agrees and tells them to face the demon Oolong and those monster kids head on. Meanwhile, Goku dresses up to full Oolong, which is pretty much normal until Oolong shapeshifts into Zarbon. Bulma falls in lust over the green space mutant but doesn't go around telling her bust size like in the original manga. Oolong catches Goku relieving himself, causing him to transform into Zarbon's more powerful form. Not that it makes a difference for Oolong in his own power, but still a nice touch and nod to the original series. Then transforming yet again into the giant bull, but immediately retreats as he sees his time is almost up. He manages to trick Goku for the time being while he recharges his power. And pretty much nothing changes from the regular series until the end of the chapter where he's finally caught. Goku makes him apologize to the villagers, but in this version, he never actually kidnapped any of the girls. However, the peel-off gang, up to their dastardly tricks, are seen in a cave in the desert hiring Yamcha to apprehend Goku. The gang, now with Oolong, make it to said desert in the next chapter. This time on foot, as Bulma explains she dropped the capsules in the river a while back. A river I honestly don't remember us seeing. But anyway, while she and Oolong complain about the heat and exhaustion, Chi-Chi randomly comes along being chased by a dinosaur, showing us decapitation is just fine in kids' cartoons as long as it happens to a vicious creature. She acquaints herself with the others as Puar spots them using a telescope, alerting Yamcha. Chi-Chi tells the others she came out here looking for someone, but has since gotten lost. The gang offer to escort her home as she says she lives on Mount Frypan, which is where they were heading anyway. That's when Yamcha approaches, pretty much telling them, "Sorry, I know it's not your fault, but I have to kill you." Unbeknownst to him, Bulma has fallen asleep just out of eyesight. Initially, he whoops on Goku pretty good, causing Oolong to panic and transform into a fly to escape. But Puar gets him with a fly swatter. Then trying to think of something strong, he changes into a Cyberman, Yamcha's biggest weakness. Chi-Chi begins to yell at Oolong for transforming into something so creepy looking, when Yamcha falls over into an all too familiar position, telling Puar the sight of that thing just made him feel funny for a second. Goku gets up, beats on Yamcha for a bit, as Bulma wakes up and scares him away. Later that night, Chi-Chi just so happened to have a camper capsule, so everyone is living easy for the moment. Yamcha scopes out the area outside, and soon makes his approach as Goku finishes up dinner. Asking what the point of their journey is, Goku enlightens Oolong to the Dragon Balls, which Yamcha overhears. Pulling Puar away, tells him their new goal now, and collecting all 7 to make a wish of their own, which is of course to cure his shyness of women. Sneaking back up on him, his world is shook upon finding Bulma in the bathroom. The next morning, they prepare to set out for Mount Frypan, when Oolong warns them of the terrible, super strong emperor-like guy that's said to attack anybody who dares go near it. But Chi-Chi said she's lived there her whole life and never encountered anybody like that. Relieved it's just a rumor, they set on out, but Yamcha keeps a close eye on him from behind. Overall, Dragon Ball SD is a rather enjoyable retelling for veterans of the series. Again, it's nothing groundbreaking or something the series needed, but its engaging visuals and subtle changes, and not so subtle changes, make it interesting to read for those who can't get enough Dragon Ball. I think the biggest change they made to the series was trying to rewrite it to make it more appropriate for today's day and age. Let me know if you want me to continue the series. There's additional 40+ chapters out there and it's still ongoing, but you guys take care, leave a like, subscribe, and I will catch you next time.